Question 1. Which definition best captures the central analytical problem of economics? A. The study of how governments regulate markets to prevent instability. B. The study of how firms maximize output using fixed technology. C. The study of how scarce resources are allocated among competing ends. D. The study of how money circulates between households and firms. The correct answer is C. Let's break this down clearly. Economics is mainly about choices under scarcity. Resources like time, money, labor, and raw materials are limited, but human wants are many. Option C captures that core idea because it focuses on allocating scarce resources among competing uses. Option A is too narrow because government regulation is only one part of economics. Option B focuses only on firms and production, so it misses households, governments, and broader choices. Option D describes part of the circular flow of income, but it does not define the central problem of economics. Remember, economics starts with scarcity and the choices people make because of it. Question 2. A university laboratory can use its research budget either to purchase advanced microscopes or to fund graduate fieldwork. It chooses the microscopes. Which statement best identifies the opportunity cost? A. The value of the graduate fieldwork that is forgone. B. The total accounting cost of the microscopes purchased. C. The remaining balance after the microscopes are bought. D. The physical quantity of microscopes acquired. The correct answer is A. Here's the key idea behind it. Opportunity cost is what you give up when you make a choice. In this case, the laboratory chooses microscopes, so the sacrificed alternative is the graduate fieldwork. Option A works because it identifies the value of that next best alternative. Option B is just the money paid for the microscopes, not the opportunity cost. Option C only shows what is left in the budget, and Option D describes the item purchased, not what was sacrificed. The main point is simple. Opportunity cost is the value of the best alternative you did not choose. Question 3. Which statement is a positive economic statement? A. Governments should subsidize essential food items. B. A fair society must prioritize low-income consumers. C. Higher wages are morally preferable to higher profits. D. An increase in price usually reduces quantity demanded, ceteris paribus. The correct answer is D. Let's look at why that works. A positive economic statement describes what is or what is likely to happen, and it can be tested with evidence. Option D fits because it states a cause and effect relationship between price and quantity demanded, while holding other factors constant. Option A uses should, so it is a policy opinion. Option B depends on a value judgment about fairness. Option C is also normative because it is based on what someone believes is morally preferable. The easy way to remember it is this. Positive economics tests facts, while normative economics argues about values. Question 4. Evaluate each statement as true or false. Scarcity exists when available resources are insufficient to satisfy all wants. The correct answer is true. A good with zero money price always has zero economic cost. The correct answer is false. Choice becomes necessary because resources have alternative uses. The correct answer is true. Scarcity applies only to poor individuals and low-income economies. The correct answer is false. Let's tie these ideas together clearly. Scarcity exists because resources are limited, while wants are greater than what those resources can fully satisfy. A zero money price does not mean zero economic cost, because getting something may still require time, effort, or giving up another opportunity. Choice becomes necessary because the same resources can often be used in different ways. Scarcity is not limited to poor people or poor economies. It affects individuals, businesses, governments, and wealthy societies too. The main idea is that scarcity is universal and it forces choices. Question 5. An economy produces only wheat and machines. At point X on its production possibility curve, it produces 80 units of wheat and 20 machines. At point Y inside the curve, it produces 60 units of wheat and 15 machines. What is the best interpretation of point Y? A. It is unattainable with current resources. B. It reflects underutilization or inefficient use of resources. C. It represents the highest possible level of social welfare. D. It proves that opportunity cost is constant. The correct answer is B. Let's make the curve easy to read. A point inside the production possibility curve means the economy is not using its resources fully or efficiently. Option B is correct because point Y produces less of both goods than a point on the curve, showing that some labor, capital, land, or technology may be idle or poorly used. Option A is wrong because unattainable points lie outside the curve, not inside it. Option C goes too far because the curve shows production possibilities, not the highest social welfare. Option D is also wrong because a single inside point does not prove anything about constant opportunity cost. The key takeaway is simple. Inside the curve means inefficiency or underutilization. Question 6. In economic choice theory, a scale of preference is best described as A. A ranked ordering of wants according to relative importance. B. A market schedule showing prices and quantities supplied. C. A legal rule determining which goods consumers may buy. D. A technical measure of production efficiency. The correct answer is A. Let's keep the idea sharp. A scale of preference ranks wants in order of importance, so a person can decide what to satisfy first when resources are limited. Option A is correct because it focuses on priority and choice under scarcity. Option B describes a supply schedule, not a preference ranking. Option C is about legal restriction, which is not the same as personal economic choice. Option D deals with production efficiency, not the ordering of wants. The key point is that a scale of preference helps people choose by ranking wants from most to least important. Question 7. A city imposes a maximum legal rent below the market equilibrium rent. Demand for apartments rises while landlords reduce the quantity offered. Which outcome is most likely? A. A surplus of apartments. B. A new equilibrium above the legal rent. C. A shortage of apartments. D. A rightward shift of the supply curve. The correct answer is C. Let's read the market signal carefully. A maximum rent set below equilibrium is a binding price ceiling. At that lower legal rent, more tenants want apartments, but landlords supply fewer units. Option C is correct because quantity demanded becomes greater than quantity supplied, creating a shortage. Option A is wrong because a surplus happens when quantity supplied is greater than quantity demanded. Option B cannot happen legally while the ceiling is binding. Option D is also incorrect because the rule does not increase supply. It reduces the quantity landlords are willing to offer at that price. Remember, a binding price ceiling creates excess demand, and excess demand means shortage. Question 8. The law of demand states that other things equal. A. Quantity demanded rises whenever income rises. B. Quantity demanded varies inversely with price. C. Demand increases whenever supply decreases. D. Price is determined only by consumer preferences. The correct answer is B. Let's make the relationship clear. The law of demand says that when price rises, quantity demanded usually falls, and when price falls, quantity demanded usually rises, assuming other factors remain unchanged. Option B is correct because it captures this inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. Option A confuses demand with income changes, which is a separate factor. Option C mixes demand with supply, but a supply change does not automatically define the law of demand. Option D is too narrow because price is influenced by both demand and supply, not only consumer preferences. The main idea is simple. Price and quantity demanded usually move in opposite directions. Question 9. Evaluate each statement as true or false. A change in consumer income can shift the demand curve. The correct answer is true. A change in the good's own price shifts the demand curve. The correct answer is false. Expectations about future prices may affect current demand. The correct answer is true. A rise in the price of a substitute can increase demand for a good. The correct answer is true. Let's connect the demand ideas cleanly. Consumer income can shift demand because it changes buyers' ability and willingness to purchase at different prices. A good's own price does not shift the demand curve, it causes movement along the same curve. Expectations also matter because buyers may purchase more now if they expect prices to rise later. And when a substitute becomes more expensive, consumers may switch toward the original good, increasing its demand. Keep this distinction clear. Non-price factors shift demand, while the good's own price causes movement along demand. Question 10. When the price of a product rises from 10 to 12, quantity demanded falls from 100 to 80. Using the midpoint method, what is the approximate price elasticity of demand? A. 0.50, B. 0.82, C. 1.00, D. 1.22. The correct answer is D. Let's walk through the midpoint calculation quickly. Quantity demanded changes from 100 to 80, so the change is negative 20. The average quantity is 90, giving a percentage change of about negative 22.22%. Price rises from 10 to 12, so the change is 2. The average price is 11, giving a percentage change of about 18.18%. Price elasticity of demand uses the absolute value of percentage change in quantity divided by percentage change in price. So 22.22 divided by 18.18 gives about 1.22. Option D is correct. Option A and option B are too low, while option C understates the response because demand changes more than proportionately compared with price. Remember, the midpoint method uses average values, not the starting values. Question 11. Which factor would most likely shift the supply curve of a good to the right? A. A fall in the price of a key input. B. A rise in consumer income. C. A rise in the good's own price. D. A decrease in the number of buyers. The correct answer is A. Let's focus on what actually changes supply. A fall in the price of a key input lowers production costs, so producers can supply more at every possible price. That shifts the supply curve to the right. Option A is correct because it directly improves the profitability of production. Option B affects demand, not supply, because it changes consumers' ability to buy. Option C causes movement along the existing supply curve, not a shift of the curve. Option D also affects demand because it reduces the number of consumers in the market. The key rule is this: lower production costs increase supply and shift the supply curve. Question 12. Given demand function, quantity demanded equals 120 minus 4p, and supply function quantity supplied equals 20 plus p, what is the equilibrium price? A. 16, B. 18, C. 20, D. 24. The correct answer is C. Let's solve it step by step. At equilibrium, quantity demanded equals quantity supplied. So we set 120 minus 4p equal to 20 plus p. Next, move the p terms to one side and the numbers to the other side. 120 minus 20 equals p plus 4p. That gives 100 equals 5p. Divide both sides by 5 and p is 20. Option C is correct. Option A and option B are too low, while option D is too high because they do not satisfy the equality between demand and supply. The key rule is simple. Equilibrium P is found where demand and supply are equal. Question 13. A fishing market has very limited cold storage facilities. On a given day, sellers must sell most of the catch before it spoils. What is the most likely short-run supply elasticity? A. Perfectly elastic. B. Relatively inelastic. C. Unit elastic. D. Infinitely elastic. The correct answer is B. Let's look at the seller's flexibility here. In the short run, fish sellers cannot easily hold back supply because the product is perishable and storage is limited. That means even if the price changes, the quantity supplied cannot respond very strongly. Option B is correct because it's relatively inelastic when producers have little time or capacity to adjust output. Option A and option D both suggest unlimited responsiveness to price, which does not fit this market. Option C means quantity supplied changes proportionately with price, but the scenario shows a weaker response than that. The key idea is that perishability and limited storage make short-run supply less responsive. Question 14. Evaluate each statement as true or false. A concave production possibility curve reflects increasing opportunity cost. The correct answer is true. A straight line production possibility curve reflects constant opportunity cost. The correct answer is true. A point outside the production possibility curve is efficient with current resources. The correct answer is false. Movement along a production possibility curve requires a reallocation of resources. The correct answer is true. Let's pull these curve ideas together. A concave production possibility curve shows increasing opportunity cost because producing more of one good requires giving up larger amounts of the other good. A straight line curve shows constant opportunity cost because the trade-off stays the same at every point. A point outside the curve is not efficient with current resources. It is unattainable unless resources, technology, or productivity improve. Movement along the curve means the economy changes its production mix by reallocating resources from one good to another. Remember, the production possibility curve is all about trade-offs, efficiency, and what the economy can realistically produce. Question 15. Which condition generally makes demand for a product more price elastic? A. The product has few substitutes. B. The product takes a small share of consumer income. C. The product is a basic necessity with no close alternative. D. Consumers have a longer time period to adjust consumption. The correct answer is D. Let's focus on how consumers respond over time. Demand becomes more price elastic when consumers have more time to adjust their behavior. Option D is correct because, over a longer period, buyers can search for substitutes, change habits, or reduce dependence on the product. Option A makes demand less elastic because few substitutes limit consumer choice. Option B also tends to make demand less elastic because small purchases usually do not force major behavior changes. Option C describes a necessity with no close alternative, which also makes demand less responsive to price changes. The key idea is that more adjustment time usually means more elastic demand. Question 16. A firm observes that reducing price from 50 to 45 increases quantity sold so much that total revenue rises. What can be inferred about demand over that price range? A. Demand is perfectly inelastic. B. Demand is unit elastic. C. Demand is price elastic. D. Demand has shifted leftward. The correct answer is C. Let's read what total revenue is telling us. When a lower price causes total revenue to rise, quantity demanded must be responding strongly to the price cut. That means the percentage increase in quantity sold is greater than the percentage decrease in price. Option C is correct because this is the sign of price elastic demand. Option A is wrong because perfectly inelastic demand would show no quantity response at all. Option B is not correct because unit elastic demand would leave total revenue unchanged. Option D is also wrong because the question describes movement along demand due to a price change, not a leftward shift of the demand curve. The key point is that when price falls and total revenue rises, demand is elastic. Question 17. Effective demand requires A. Desire for a good backed by willingness and ability to pay. B. Desire for a good regardless of income or price. C. Production capacity sufficient to meet all wants. D. Government approval of consumer preferences. The correct answer is A. Let's pin down what makes demand effective. Effective demand is not just wanting something. It means the consumer wants the good, is willing to buy it, and has the purchasing power to pay for it at the given price. Option A is correct because it includes both willingness and ability to pay. Option B is wrong because desire alone is not enough in economics. Option C describes production capacity, not consumer demand. Option D is also incorrect because government approval is not required for demand to be effective. Remember, demand becomes effective only when desire is backed by money and readiness to buy. Question 18. Evaluate each statement as true or false. In equilibrium, quantity demanded equals quantity supplied. The correct answer is true. A market shortage creates downward pressure on price. The correct answer is false. A market surplus creates downward pressure on price. The correct answer is true. Equilibrium can change when demand or supply shifts. The correct answer is true. Let's connect this to how markets adjust. Equilibrium occurs when buyers want to purchase exactly the same quantity that sellers want to sell. A shortage does not push price downward. It usually pushes price upward because buyers compete for limited available supply. A surplus does create downward pressure because sellers may lower prices to clear unsold stock. And when demand or supply shifts, the equilibrium price, equilibrium quantity, or both can change. The main idea is that markets move toward balance through price pressure. Question 19. The price of tea rises and demand for coffee increases significantly. What does this suggest about the cross-elasticity of demand between tea and coffee? A, it is negative, indicating complements. B, it is 0, indicating unrelated goods. C, it is undefined because prices changed. D, it is positive, indicating substitutes. The correct answer is D. Let's follow the relationship between the two goods. When the price of tea rises and people demand more coffee, it means consumers are switching from tea to coffee. Option D is correct because substitutes have positive cross-elasticity of demand. As the price of one good rises, demand for the other good increases. Option A is wrong because complements have negative cross-elasticity. Demand for one falls when the other becomes more expensive. Option B is not correct because coffee clearly responds to the change in tea's price. Option C is also wrong because cross-elasticity is specifically used to measure this kind of price and demand relationship between two goods. The key idea is simple. A positive cross-elasticity points to substitute goods. Question 20. If income rises by 10% and quantity demanded for a good falls by 4%, the good is best classified as A, a normal good, B, an inferior good, C, a luxury good, D, a substitute good. The correct answer is B. Let's read the income response carefully. When income rises but quantity demanded falls, the good has negative income elasticity of demand. Option B is correct because inferior goods are goods people buy less of as their income increases. Option A is wrong because demand for a normal good rises when income rises. Option C is not correct because a luxury good is a type of normal good with demand that rises more than proportionately with income. Option D is unrelated here because substitutes are classified by cross-elasticity, not by how demand responds to income. The key idea is simple. If higher income reduces demand, the good is inferior. Question 21. A government sets a minimum price for an agricultural product above its equilibrium price. Producers increase output while consumers buy less. What is the direct market outcome? A, a surplus. B, a shortage. C, a fall in supply. D, a fall in demand. The correct answer is A. Let's follow the price floor effect. A minimum price set above equilibrium is a binding price floor. At that higher legal price, producers are willing to supply more, but consumers are willing to buy less. Option A is correct because quantity supplied becomes greater than quantity demanded, creating a surplus. Option B is wrong because a shortage happens when quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied. Option C is not correct because producers are increasing output, not reducing supply. Option D is also wrong because consumers are buying less due to the higher price, which is movement along demand, not a fall in demand itself. Remember, a binding price floor creates excess supply, and excess supply means surplus. Question 22. At a point on a demand curve, price elasticity of demand is exactly 1. What happens to total revenue after a very small price increase? A, total revenue increases sharply. B, total revenue decreases sharply. C, total revenue remains approximately unchanged. D, total revenue becomes negative. The correct answer is C. Here the revenue rule is doing the work. When demand is unit elastic, the percentage rise in price is matched by an equal percentage fall in quantity demanded. Because the two effects offset each other, total revenue remains approximately unchanged after a very small price increase. Option C is correct for that reason. Option A is wrong because revenue would rise only if demand were inelastic over that change. Option B is wrong because revenue would fall only if demand were elastic over that change. Option D is not realistic because total revenue does not become negative from a price increase. The key takeaway is that unit elastic demand keeps total revenue roughly steady. Question 23. Evaluate each statement as true or false. Price elasticity of demand measures responsiveness of quantity demanded to price changes. The correct answer is true. Elasticity is usually more informative than slope because elasticity is unit-free. The correct answer is true. Perfectly inelastic demand has an elasticity coefficient of infinity. The correct answer is false. Elastic demand means quantity demanded changes proportionately less than price. The correct answer is false. Let's sort out the elasticity logic clearly. Price elasticity of demand measures how strongly quantity demanded responds when price changes. Elasticity is often more useful than slope because it is unit-free, so it allows comparisons across different goods, prices, and measurement scales. Perfectly inelastic demand does not have infinite elasticity. Its elasticity is zero because quantity demanded does not change at all when price changes. Elastic demand also does not mean quantity changes less than price. It means quantity demanded changes proportionately more than price. The key idea is that elasticity measures percentage responsiveness, not just the steepness of a curve. Question 24. For the demand function quantity equals 80 minus 2p, what is the point price elasticity of demand when p equals 20? A, 0.25, B, 0.50, C, 1.00, D, 2.00. The correct answer is C. Let's run the calculation cleanly. Use the point elasticity formula. Absolute value of change in quantity divided by change in price multiplied by price over quantity. From the demand function, the change in quantity divided by change in price is -2. When price is 20, quantity equals 80 minus 2 times 20, which gives 40. Now substitute the values, -2 times 20 over 40. Taking the absolute value gives the unit elastic result. Option A and option B are too low because they understate the responsiveness of quantity demanded. Option D is too high because it doubles the actual responsiveness. The key is to find quantity first, then apply the point elasticity formula carefully. Question 25. A drought reduces the supply of maize, while consumer preferences for maize remain unchanged. Assuming a normal downward sloping demand curve, what happens to equilibrium price and quantity? A. Price falls and quantity rises. B. Price rises and quantity falls. C. Price and quantity both rise. D. Price and quantity both fall. The correct answer is B. Let's trace the supply shift carefully. A drought reduces maize production, so the supply curve shifts left. With less maize available at each price, buyers compete for a smaller quantity, pushing the equilibrium price upward. At the same time, the equilibrium quantity falls because the market now has less maize supplied and purchased. Option B is correct because it captures both effects, higher price and lower quantity. Option A gives the opposite result. Option C would fit an increase in demand, not a fall in supply. Option D gets the quantity right but misses the price increase caused by scarcity. The key rule is this: a decrease in supply raises price and reduces quantity. Question 26. A perfectly inelastic supply curve is represented by A. A vertical line, B. A horizontal line, C. An upward sloping curve, D. A downward sloping curve. The correct answer is A. Let's picture what the curve is showing. Perfectly inelastic supply means quantity supplied does not change when price changes. The quantity stays fixed, so the supply curve is drawn as a vertical line. Option A is correct because a vertical curve shows the same quantity at every price. Option B is wrong because a horizontal line represents perfectly elastic supply, where producers supply at one price only. Option C shows normal positive responsiveness to price, not zero responsiveness. Option D does not represent the usual supply relationship at all. Remember, perfectly inelastic means quantity is fixed, no matter what happens to price. Question 27. In a market, consumer income rises, and a technological improvement lowers production costs at the same time. The good is normal. What is the most defensible prediction? A. Equilibrium price must rise while quantity is indeterminate. B. Equilibrium price must fall while quantity is indeterminate. C. Equilibrium quantity rises while price is indeterminate. D. Equilibrium quantity falls while price is indeterminate. The correct answer is C. Let's follow both curve shifts together. Because the good is normal, higher consumer income increases demand. At the same time, better technology lowers production costs, so supply also increases. When demand and supply both increase, equilibrium quantity rises for sure because buyers want more and sellers can produce more. But the price effect is uncertain because increased demand pushes price up, while increased supply pushes price down. Option C is correct because quantity rises while price depends on which shift is stronger. Option A and option B wrongly claim price must move in one direction. Option D is wrong because both shifts support a higher quantity, not a lower one. The key idea is that when demand and supply both increase, quantity rises, but price is uncertain. Question 28. Evaluate each statement as true or false. A binding price ceiling is set below equilibrium price. The correct answer is true. A binding price floor is set below equilibrium price. The correct answer is false. A shortage occurs when quantity demanded exceeds quantity supplied. The correct answer is true. A surplus occurs when quantity supplied exceeds quantity demanded. The correct answer is true. Let's lock in the price control logic. A binding price ceiling is a maximum legal price that sits below equilibrium, so it prevents price from rising to the market clearing level. A binding price floor is not below equilibrium. It must be above equilibrium to force the market price higher than it would naturally be. A shortage happens when buyers want more than sellers are willing to supply, while a surplus happens when sellers offer more than buyers want to purchase. Remember, ceilings create shortages when binding, and floors create surpluses when binding. Question 29. Which event causes movement along a supply curve rather than a shift of the supply curve? A. A change in production technology. B. A change in input prices. C. A change in the goods' own price. D. A change in seller expectations. The correct answer is C. Let's separate movement from shifting. A change in the goods' own price changes the quantity supplied, so producers move along the existing supply curve. Option C is correct because the supply curve itself stays in place while the price quantity point changes. Option A shifts supply because better or worse technology changes how much firms can produce at each price. Option B also shifts supply because input costs affect production profitability. Option D shifts supply because seller expectations can change how much producers are willing to offer now. The key rule is clear. Own price causes movement along supply, while non-price factors shift supply. Question 30. A product has highly inelastic demand and highly elastic supply. A per-unit tax is imposed on sellers. Who is likely to bear the larger economic burden? A. Consumers. B. Producers. C. Input suppliers only. D. Consumers and producers equally. The correct answer is A. Let's focus on tax incidence. It's the larger tax burden falls on the side of the market that is less responsive to price changes. Here, demand is highly inelastic, so consumers do not reduce quantity demanded much when price rises. Supply is highly elastic, meaning producers can respond more easily, so they bear less of the burden. Option A is correct because consumers are the less price-responsive side. Option B is wrong because producers are more flexible in this case. Option C is too narrow because the tax burden is being considered between buyers and sellers in the product market. Option D is not correct because equal burden would require similar elasticities on both sides. Remember, the less elastic side carries more of the tax burden. Question 31. Marginal analysis in economics primarily involves comparing A. Average revenue with total cost. B. Additional benefit with additional cost. C. Total utility with total expenditure. D. Market price with historical price. The correct answer is B. Let's get straight to the decision rule. Marginal analysis looks at the extra benefit from doing one more unit of an activity and compares it with the extra cost of doing that activity. Option B is correct because economic decisions are often made by asking whether the additional benefit is greater than the additional cost. Option A compares average and total values, not marginal values. Option C compares broad totals, so it misses the incremental focus. Option D compares prices over time, which is not the core of marginal analysis. The key idea is this: choose the action when the marginal benefit is greater than the marginal cost. Question 32. Evaluate each statement as true or false. Opportunity cost may include implicit costs. The correct answer is true. Accounting cost always equals economic cost. The correct answer is false. Opportunity cost is relevant even when no money is spent. The correct answer is true. The correct answer is true. Sunk costs should normally guide current rational choice. The correct answer is false. Let's bring the cost ideas into focus. Opportunity cost can include implicit costs because it counts the value of benefits sacrificed, even when no direct payment is made. Accounting cost does not always equal economic cost, because economic cost includes both explicit money payments and implicit foregone opportunities. Opportunity cost still matters when no money changes hands, such as when time or another valuable alternative is given up. Sunk costs should not guide current rational choice because they are already incurred and cannot be recovered. The main rule is that rational decisions look forward, not backward. Question 33. An economy moves along its production possibility curve from producing 100 units of food and 40 units of cloth to 90 units of food and 55 units of cloth. What is the opportunity cost of the additional cloth? A, 15 units of food. B, 10 units of cloth. C, 25 total units of output. D, 10 units of food. The correct answer is D. Let's track what the economy gives up. The economy increases cloth production from 40 units to 55 units, so it gains 15 units of cloth. But food production falls from 100 units to 90 units, so it sacrifices 10 units of food. Option D is correct because opportunity cost is measured by what is given up to obtain the extra output. Option A confuses the gain in cloth with the cost in food. Option B states the sacrificed amount but uses the wrong good. Option C adds the changes together, which is not how opportunity cost is measured. The key point is that opportunity cost is the lost alternative, not the new output gained. Question 34. A demand schedule shows A, the amount producers plan to sell at different input prices. B, the total output possible with fixed resources. C, quantities consumers are willing and able to buy at different prices. D, the ranking of wants by urgency. The correct answer is C. Let's define it in market terms. A demand schedule is a table showing how much consumers are willing and able to buy at different possible prices. Option C is correct because it links price with quantity demanded. Option A describes supply behavior, not demand. Option B points to production possibilities, not consumer buying plans. Option D describes a scale of preference, where wants are ranked by importance. The key idea is that a demand schedule shows the relationship between price and quantity demanded. Question 35. Seller estimates that consumers' maximum willingness to pay for successive units declines as more units are consumed. What does this pattern most directly explain? A, the downward slope of the demand curve. B, the upward slope of the supply curve. C, a perfectly elastic supply curve. D, a surplus at equilibrium price. The correct answer is A. Let's connect willingness to pay with demand. As consumers consume more units, the extra satisfaction from each additional unit usually falls, so their maximum willingness to pay for each extra unit also declines. Option A is correct because this helps explain why consumers buy more only at lower prices, giving the demand curve its downward slope. Option B is about producer behavior and rising quantity supplied, not consumer willingness to pay. Option C describes supply that responds infinitely at one price, which is unrelated here. Option D is wrong because a surplus occurs when quantity supplied exceeds quantity demanded, not because willingness to pay declines across units. The key idea is that falling marginal willingness to pay supports a downward sloping demand curve. Question 36. A stable market equilibrium generally requires that near equilibrium, A, demand and supply curves both slope downward. B, excess demand leads to price increases and excess supply leads to price decreases. C, quantity demanded always exceeds quantity supplied. D, price remains fixed regardless of market pressure. The correct answer is B. Let's see how the market corrects itself. A stable equilibrium needs price movements that push the market back toward balance. When there is excess demand, buyers compete for limited goods, so price tends to rise. When there is excess supply, sellers lower prices to clear unsold stock. Option B is correct because these adjustments reduce shortages and surpluses. Option A is wrong because supply normally slopes upward, not downward. Option C describes a permanent shortage, not equilibrium stability. Option D is also wrong because fixed prices prevent the market from responding to pressure. The main idea is that stable markets move prices in the direction that restores balance. Question 37. Evaluate each statement as true or false. Supply is generally more elastic when producers can easily switch inputs. The correct answer is true. Supply elasticity is usually lower when production requires long adjustment periods. The correct answer is true. Spare productive capacity can make supply more price responsive. The correct answer is true. A perfectly elastic supply curve is vertical. The correct answer is false. Let's bring the supply responsiveness ideas together. Supply tends to be more elastic when producers can switch inputs easily because they can adjust output without major delay or cost. Long production adjustment periods reduce supply elasticity because firms cannot quickly increase or decrease production. Spare productive capacity makes supply more responsive because producers can raise output when price rises without first building new facilities or buying major new equipment. A perfectly elastic supply curve is not vertical. It is horizontal, showing that sellers are willing to supply any quantity at one given price. The key idea is that supply is more elastic when producers can adjust output quickly and easily. Question 38. A market report shows that the price of cocoa rises and the quantity purchased falls, while no other demand-side factor changes. Which interpretation is most appropriate? A, demand has increased. B, supply has increased. C, quantity demanded has decreased. D, quantity supplied has decreased. The correct answer is C. Well, great. Let's separate a movement from a shift. When the goods' own price rises, consumers usually buy less, so there is a movement along the existing demand curve. Option C is correct because the quantity demanded decreases, not demand itself. Option A is wrong because demand would increase only if a non-price factor shifted the demand curve rightward. Option B is not supported because there is no evidence of a supply increase. Option D is also incorrect because the report describes buyers purchasing less, not sellers supplying less. The key rule is simple. Own price changes quantity demanded, while non-price factors change demand. Question 39. A given good, if observed, would violate the usual law of demand because A, it has no opportunity cost. B, its supply curve slopes downward. C, its quantity demanded rises when income rises. D, its quantity demanded rises when its own price rises. The correct answer is D. Let's focus on what makes this case unusual. The usual law of demand says that when a good's own price rises, quantity demanded should fall. A given good breaks that normal pattern because, over the relevant price range, quantity demanded rises as its own price rises. Option D is correct because it describes that upward sloping demand relationship. Option A is wrong because all economic goods involve opportunity cost. Option B is about supply, not the demand behavior of a given good. Option C describes how demand responds to income, which relates to normal and inferior goods, not the key Giffen condition. Remember, a Giffen good is unusual because price and quantity demanded move in the same direction. Question 40. If the percentage change in quantity demanded is smaller than the percentage change in price, demand is A, perfectly elastic, B, inelastic, C, unit elastic, D, cross-elastic. The correct answer is B. Let's compare the two percentage changes. Demand is inelastic when quantity demanded responds less than proportionately to a price change. That means the elasticity value is less than 1 in absolute terms. Option B is correct because the percentage change in quantity demanded is smaller than the percentage change in price. Option A is wrong because perfectly elastic demand means quantity demanded can change without any price change. Option C is not correct because unit elastic demand means the percentage changes are equal. Option D is unrelated here because cross-elasticity measures how demand for one good responds to the price of another good. The key idea is that a weak quantity response to price means demand is inelastic. Question 41. At the current market price, consumers want to buy 5,000 units while producers offer 3,200 units. Which adjustment is most consistent with competitive market pressure? A. Price tends to rise. B. Price tends to fall. C. Demand shifts left automatically. D. Supply shifts left automatically. The correct answer is A. Let's read the imbalance in the market. Consumers want more units than producers are offering, so the market has excess demand, or a shortage. When buyers compete for too few available goods, they tend to bid the price upward. Option A is correct because rising price is the normal competitive response to a shortage. Option B is wrong because falling price would make the shortage worse, not better. Option C is not correct because demand does not automatically shift left just because there is excess demand. Option D is also wrong because supply does not automatically shift left. Producers may simply offer more as price rises along the existing supply curve. Remember, shortages create upward pressure on price. Question 42. Evaluate each statement as true or false. A rightward demand shift raises equilibrium quantity, other things equal. The correct answer is true. A leftward supply shift raises equilibrium price, other things equal. The correct answer is true. A simultaneous decrease in demand and increase in supply must raise price. The correct answer is false. A simultaneous increase in demand and decrease in supply has an indeterminate effect on quantity. The correct answer is true. Let's work through the shift effects smoothly. A rightward demand shift means buyers want more at each price, so equilibrium quantity rises when other factors stay the same. A leftward supply shift means fewer goods are available at each price, which pushes equilibrium price upward. A decrease in demand and an increase in supply do not raise price. Both forces put downward pressure on price. Finally, when demand increases but supply decreases, price rises, but quantity can rise, fall, or stay the same depending on which shift is larger. The key is to track each curve's pressure on price and quantity separately. Question 43. For a straight-line demand curve, price elasticity of demand generally, A, is constant along the entire curve. B is always equal to 0. C varies along the curve despite constant slope. D is unrelated to price and quantity. The correct answer is C. Let's separate slope from elasticity. A straight-line demand curve has a constant slope, but elasticity is not based on slope alone. It also depends on the price and quantity at the specific point on the curve. Option C is correct because elasticity changes as the price-quantity ratio changes along the curve. Option A is wrong because constant slope does not mean constant elasticity. Option B is incorrect because zero elasticity means quantity demanded does not respond to price at all. Option D is also wrong because price and quantity are essential parts of the elasticity calculation. The key idea is that slope can stay constant while elasticity changes. Question 44. A bakery must sell bread the same day it is baked. At closing time, unsold bread has little value. Which elasticity concept best explains why the bakery may sharply reduce prices late in the day? A. Income elasticity of demand. B. Cross-elasticity of demand. C. Perfectly elastic demand. D. Highly inelastic immediate period supply. The correct answer is D. Let's focus on the time pressure here. In the immediate period, the bakery cannot change the amount of bread already baked. The quantity available is fixed and any unsold bread quickly loses value, so the bakery may cut prices sharply to sell what it has. Option D is correct because immediate period supply is highly inelastic when sellers cannot adjust quantity. Option A is wrong because income elasticity deals with how demand responds to income changes. Option B is about how demand for one good responds to the price of another good. Option C is not the best fit because the issue is fixed supply, not unlimited demand response at one price. Remember, when supply is fixed and the product is perishable, sellers may lower prices quickly to clear stock. Question 45. Evaluate each statement as true or false. A scale of preference helps rank wants before resources are allocated. The correct answer is true. The highest ranked want always has the highest money cost. The correct answer is false. Rational choice requires comparing alternatives. The correct answer is true. A lower ranked want can never be chosen rationally. The correct answer is false. Let's make the choice logic clear. A scale of preference helps people arrange wants by importance before deciding how to use limited resources. But the most important want does not always have the highest money cost because priority and price are different things. Rational choice requires comparing alternatives, since choosing one option usually means giving up another. A lower-ranked want can still be chosen rationally if the higher-ranked want is too costly, unavailable, or offers less benefit at the margin. The key point is that rational choice depends on priorities, constraints, and trade-offs. Question 46. A manufacturer can expand output only after building a new facility, which takes several years. What is most likely true of its supply elasticity? A. Short-run supply is more elastic than long-run supply. B. Long-run supply is more elastic than short-run supply. C. Supply elasticity is 0 in every period. D. Supply elasticity depends only on consumer income. The correct answer is B. Let's focus on the role of time. In the short run, the manufacturer cannot expand output much because building a new facility takes several years. Over the long run, the firm has enough time to increase capacity, add equipment, and adjust production more fully. Option B is correct because supply usually becomes more elastic when producers have more time to respond to price changes. Option A reverses the usual time effect. Option C is too extreme because supply may be limited now, but not fixed forever. Option D is wrong because consumer income affects demand, not supply elasticity directly. The key idea is that more adjustment time usually makes supply more elastic. Question 47. Increasing opportunity cost along a production possibility curve is most commonly explained by A. Resources being imperfectly adaptable between uses. B. Money prices rising in all sectors equally. C. Consumers having unlimited wants. D. Equilibrium quantity exceeding equilibrium price. The correct answer is A. Let's connect this to resource specialization. Increasing opportunity cost happens because resources are not equally suited to every type of production. Option A is correct because when resources are moved from one use to another, some become less productive in the new use, so more must be sacrificed to gain additional output. Option B is wrong because equal price increases do not explain the shape of the production possibility curve. Option C explains scarcity, but not increasing opportunity cost along the curve. Option D is not meaningful here because equilibrium quantity and equilibrium price are different measures. The key idea is that specialized resources create rising trade-offs. Question 48. Evaluate each statement as true or false. When demand is elastic, a price increase reduces total revenue. The correct answer is true. When demand is inelastic, a price increase reduces total revenue. The correct answer is false. At unit elasticity, total revenue is locally maximized on a linear demand curve. The correct answer is true. Total revenue equals price multiplied by quantity sold. The correct answer is true. Let's connect elasticity directly to revenue. When demand is elastic, quantity demanded falls proportionately more than price rises, so total revenue decreases. When demand is inelastic, the quantity fall is proportionately smaller than the price rise, so total revenue increases instead of falling. At unit elasticity on a linear demand curve, the price and quantity effects balance, and total revenue reaches its local maximum. Total revenue is simply calculated as price multiplied by quantity sold. The key rule is that elasticity tells us how a price change affects total revenue. Question 49. Initially, quantity demanded equals 200 minus 5p, and quantity supplied equals 20 plus 4p. A successful advertising campaign changes demand to quantity demanded equals 245 minus 5p. What is the new equilibrium price? A. 20, B. 22, C. 23, C. D. 25. The correct answer is D. Let's solve the new equilibrium directly. Equilibrium occurs where quantity demanded equals quantity supplied. Using the new demand function, set 245 minus 5p equal to 20 plus 4p. Next, move the numbers to one side and the price terms to the other side. 245 minus 20 gives 225, and 4p plus 5p gives 9p. So 225 equals 9p. Divide both sides by 9, and the price is 25. Option D is correct. Option A, Option B, and Option C are too low because they do not balance the new demand function with supply. The key is to use the new demand equation after advertising, not the original one. Question 50. In the supply function, quantity supplied equals negative 10 plus 3p. The coefficient of p indicates A. Equilibrium price, B. Total market demand, C. The change in quantity supplied for a 1 unit change in price, D. The minimum quantity demanded at zero price. The correct answer is C. Let's read the function carefully. In a supply function, the coefficient attached to p shows how quantity supplied changes when price changes by 1 unit. Here, the coefficient is 3, meaning quantity supplied increases by 3 units for every 1 unit increase in price. Option C is correct because it describes that price responsiveness within the equation. Option A is wrong because equilibrium price is found by setting demand equal to supply. Option B is about demand, not supply. Option D is also incorrect because the function refers to quantity supplied, not quantity demanded. The key idea is that the price coefficient shows strongly supply responds to price. Question 51. An economy develops a new technology that improves machine production but has no effect on food production. What happens to its production possibility curve? A. It shifts inward evenly. B. It rotates outward toward the machine axis. C. It becomes a demand curve. D. It remains unchanged because resources are fixed. The correct answer is B. Let's picture the production boundary clearly. The new technology increases the economy's ability to produce machines, but it does not improve food production. So the production possibility curve does not shift outward evenly. Instead, it rotates outward toward the machine axis, showing greater maximum machine output while food capacity stays the same. Option B is correct for that reason. Option A is wrong because the change is an improvement, not a decline. Option C is unrelated because a production possibility curve does not become a demand curve. Option D is also wrong because better technology can expand production potential even when resources are fixed. The key idea is that sector-specific technology expands the curve toward the good it improves. Question 52. Evaluate each statement as true or false. A demand increase with unchanged supply raises equilibrium price. The correct answer is true. A supply increase with unchanged demand lowers equilibrium price. The correct answer is true. A demand decrease with unchanged supply raises equilibrium quantity. The correct answer is false. A supply decrease with unchanged demand lowers equilibrium quantity. The correct answer is true. Let's track each curve shift cleanly. When demand increases and supply stays the same, buyers compete for more of the good, so equilibrium price rises. When supply increases and demand stays the same, more output is available, creating downward pressure on equilibrium price. A demand decrease does not raise equilibrium quantity. It lowers it because buyers want less at each price. A supply decrease also lowers equilibrium quantity because fewer goods are available in the market. The key is to follow the direction of the shift and then check its effect on price and quantity. Question 53. When price rises from 8 to 10 and quantity supplied rises from 40 to 52, using the midpoint method, the price elasticity of supply is approximately. A. 1.17, B. 1.00, C. 0.85, D. 1.50. The correct answer is A. Let's work through the midpoint steps carefully. First, quantity supplied rises from 40 to 52, so the change in quantity supplied is 12. The midpoint quantity is 40 plus 52 divided by 2, which gives 46. So the percentage change in quantity supplied is 12 divided by 46, about 0.2609. Price rises from 8 to 10, so the change in price is 2. The midpoint price is 8 plus 10 divided by 2, which gives 9. So the percentage change in price is 2 divided by 9, about 0.2222. Divide 0.2609 by 0.2222, and elasticity is about 1.17. Option A is correct. Option B and option C are too low, while option D is too high. Remember, the midpoint method uses average price and average quantity, not the starting values. Question 54. Smartphones and mobile data services are complements. If the price of smartphones falls substantially, what is the most likely effect in the market for mobile data services? A. Supply of mobile data shifts left. B. Quantity supplied of smartphones falls. C. Demand for mobile data shifts left. D. Demand for mobile data shifts right. The correct answer is D. Let's connect the two markets clearly. Complementary goods are used together, so when smartphones become cheaper, more people are likely to buy smartphones and use mobile data services with them. That increases demand for mobile data at each price, shifting the demand curve to the right. Option D is correct because it captures the increase in demand for the related good. Option A is wrong because the change affects demand for mobile data, not its supply. Option B talks about smartphones rather than the mobile data market. Option C gives the opposite effect because cheaper smartphones make mobile data more attractive, not less. The key idea is that a lower price for one complement increases demand for the other. Question 55. If consumers expect the future price of a durable good to rise sharply, current demand is likely to A. Decrease because supply will increase later. B. Remain fixed because expectations affect only supply. C. Increase as consumers bring purchases forward. D. Become perfectly inelastic immediately. The correct answer is C. Let's focus on how expectations affect buying decisions. When consumers expect a durable good to become more expensive in the future, many will try to buy it now before the price rises. That increases current demand and shifts the demand curve to the right. Option C is correct because it shows consumers bringing purchases forward in time. Option A is wrong because the question is about expected future price, not a guaranteed future supply increase. Option B is incorrect because expectations can affect demand as well as supply. Option D goes too far because stronger current demand does not mean demand becomes perfectly inelastic. The key idea is that expected future price increases can raise demand today. Question 56. Evaluate each statement as true or false. Positive economics concerns testable claims about economic behavior. The correct answer is true. Normative economics involves value judgments about what ought to be. The correct answer is true. Economic models simplify reality to isolate key relationships. The correct answer is true. A model is useless if it abstracts from some real-world details. The correct answer is false. Let's separate facts, values, and models clearly. Positive economics deals with claims that can be tested using evidence, such as how consumers respond to a price change. Normative economics is different because it involves judgments about what should happen or what is desirable. Economic models are useful because they simplify complex reality and help isolate the main relationships being studied. A model does not become useless just because it leaves out some details. Abstraction is often what makes the model clear and practical. The key idea is that good economics uses testable analysis, recognizes value judgments, and relies on simplified models to explain behavior. Question 57. A perfectly elastic demand curve is best represented by A. A vertical line at a fixed quantity, B. A horizontal line at a fixed price, C. An upward sloping line from the origin, D. a downward sloping curve with changing elasticity, the correct answer is B. Let's picture the curve clearly. Perfectly elastic demand means consumers are willing to buy any quantity at one exact price, but they buy nothing if the price rises above that level. That is shown by a horizontal demand curve at a fixed price. Option B is correct because the price stays constant while quantity can vary widely. Option A describes perfectly inelastic demand, where quantity stays fixed regardless of price. Option C does not represent normal demand behavior. Option D describes a regular downward sloping demand curve, not perfectly elastic demand. The key idea is that perfectly elastic demand is horizontal because buyers respond completely to even a tiny price increase. Question 58. Evaluate each statement as true or false. A point inside the production possibility curve may reflect unemployment. The correct answer is true. A point on the production possibility curve is productively efficient. The correct answer is true. Productive efficiency guarantees allocative efficiency. The correct answer is false. Economic growth can shift the production possibility curve outward. The correct answer is true. Let's connect efficiency with production capacity. A point inside the production possibility curve can show unemployment because some resources are not being used fully. A point on the curve is productively efficient because the economy is producing the maximum possible output combination with its current resources and technology. But productive efficiency does not guarantee allocative efficiency because the economy may still be producing the wrong mix of goods for society's preferences. Economic growth can shift the curve outward because better resources, improved technology, or higher productivity expand what the economy can produce. The key idea is that the curve shows both efficiency today and growth potential over time. Question 59. In a competitive market, equilibrium price performs which central function? A. It coordinates buyers' willingness to pay with sellers' willingness to produce. B. It guarantees equal income distribution among consumers. C. It eliminates scarcity from the economy. D. It fixes opportunity cost at zero. The correct answer is A. Let's focus on what equilibrium price actually does. In a competitive market, equilibrium price brings together the decisions of buyers and sellers. Buyers decide how much they are willing and able to purchase, while sellers decide how much they are willing to produce and offer for sale. Option A is correct because the equilibrium price coordinates those two sides of the market, where quantity demanded equals quantity supplied. Option B is wrong because equilibrium price does not guarantee equal income distribution. Option C is also wrong because scarcity still exists even when markets clear. Option D is incorrect because opportunity cost never becomes zero simply because a market reaches equilibrium. The key idea is that equilibrium price helps buyers and sellers reach market balance. Question 60. Evaluate each statement as true or false. If demand is perfectly inelastic, quantity demanded is unchanged by price changes. The correct answer is true. If supply is perfectly elastic, sellers supply only one fixed quantity. The correct answer is false. If demand becomes more elastic, consumers become more responsive to price changes. The correct answer is true. If supply is inelastic, producers have limited ability to change output when price changes. The correct answer is true. Let's bring the elasticity meanings together. Perfectly inelastic demand means quantity demanded stays the same even when price changes, so there is no quantity response. Perfectly elastic supply does not mean one fixed quantity. It means sellers are willing to supply any quantity at one fixed price. When demand becomes more elastic, consumers react more strongly to price changes. And when supply is inelastic, producers cannot easily adjust output when price changes, often because of limited time, capacity, or resources. The key idea is that elasticity measures how responsive quantity is to price.